Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Freshly Pressed. Today we have with us Jarrell Tomlinson. Welcome to the show, Jarrell.
Hey, thank you for having me, man.
Glad to have you here. So, Jarrell, tell us a bit about yourself. What was your background growing up, and how you got into comics in the first place.
Well, it all started in grad school, if you can believe it. I took an entrepreneurship class, and it required me to like come up with a name for my company. And before Ronin, my company was called Burning Torch Comics. But
Uh huh.
as I went through the course of the class, I started thinking more about like comics as just a side hustle. Like I started transition from being somebody who thought of comics as just like as a hobbyist would, but then I started
Mm.
thinking about um, how I could turn it into a lucrative business, and eventually it just became the inspiration for Ronin Entertainment. Ronin Entertainment got its name from like the feudal samurai of well, the masterless warriors of feudal Japan, because it highlights that I am my own master. I am outside the mainstream industry as an indie comic book producer. So I'm making my own mark rather than like following the norm set by the big two or other companies within the mainstream banner.
That's amazing. That's great to know. Uh, but like, what got you interested in like reading comics, and what are some of your favorite comic books?
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, I
right now.
forgot part two. Okay.
Oh, that's all right. That's perfectly all right.
Um, well, what got me into comics is during college years, like undergrad years, in between classes, I would read some web comics. Some of them were superhero genres, some of them were slice of life. Um, it was just something to do. Like that's how I actually became like a comic book hobbyist. That's where I found my passion for it. Like trying to like become a writer of comic books. Um,
Nice.
it's a very simple yet probably cliche story, but I just picked it up one day. I'm not like somebody who just, I was 6 years old and I've been reading comic books since I was knee high to a grasshopper, but it happened just in college.
Everyone has its own has their own journey. There's no right or wrong way to get into comics. For some people, it just happens one day. The person who I interviewed just before you had he started reading comics when he was 44, and
So, so
like
he was
yeah.
a little bit more seasoned than I am. So,
So exactly. So everyone has their own journey into this thing. There's no right or wrong way.
hmm. But I'm glad
That's
to be
awesome.
here. That's what I wanted. That's what I want everybody to know. I'm glad to be in this growing this growing space or sphere.
Yeah, and you're at the right time as well. I think it's a good time for independent comics. I think people are much more open and much more willing to actually try out and like go give independent creators a chance right now, as opposed to say like 10 or 15 years ago when we had none of these things, and none of our Kickstarters were this big. They were there. It's not like comic book Kickstarters weren't there 10 years ago, but they were more graphic novel focused and very different in terms of how they were. So now it's you and I can also have a go at it, and I think that's a beautiful thing. That's an amazing thing, you know. So
Yes, in a way, after as much as people might feel a little bit more disenchanted by Marvel and DC and other mainstream comic book producers. In a way, they paved the way for indie comic book producers. If people don't become disenchanted by them, they probably don't look to us because, like it or not, brand recognition and nostalgia is powerful. Uh, if people don't recognize what you're putting out or don't recognize the name, they're not going to give it a chance. Most likely, most people are not. They're not going to shell out hard-earned money for an unproven product.
fair enough, totally. I 100% agree, and that's also why, like, if you see a lot of mainstream creators as well, they go to Kickstarter these days, do their own personal passion projects there. Obviously, they're the name draw, and a lot of indie creators also. There's a trickle down effect sometimes, uh, and they also get back because some of these big backers get a lot of comic book lovers on the website, and they may be, hang on, I like this book. I like action, you know, and I like the look of it. Why don't I back it? That kind of thing. So yeah, good stuff. Tell us a bit about your current campaign and your comic book, Steel Magnolia.
Yes, sir. That's how you pronounce Steel Magnolia issue number 0. The official name is Road to Jahannam. Steel Magnolia issue number 0, Road to Jahannam. It's meant to be a prologue for Ronin's Plan comic book series. Um, Basically, this is the story before the main character of Steel Magnolia shows up. This shows or depicts the events that led to her rise as one of the world's greatest superheroes. What happens in the story without spoiling too much is, let's say a small group of terrorists have their eyes on a prize held by the U.S. Army.
Hmm.
And let's just say the U.S. Army doesn't react well to that. And this story depicts as you can imagine, the violent outcome that would probably transpire if you tried to steal from the U.S. military. So,
Wow.
um, yeah, without spoiling too much.
Mm. Don't want you to spoil the story. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a no-no.
yeah, absolutely. No, but we do want people to read the comic book, and 40 pages. Wow, that's already a like big part of the story. They're right there. So tell me a bit about like your rewards. What are the reward tiers you have, and what can people get when they back the comic book campaign?
Lots of goodies, lots of goodies. For international and stateside backers, you can get a digital or a physical copy of everything. You can get a digital or physical copy of issue number 0. There's artwork posters, 2 designs. You can get a digital or physical copy for that. The artwork posters are 11 by 17, pretty decent size. If you back level 3, you will get and you're a stateside backer, you will get your artwork poster in a gloss lamination finish. That's going to make the colors pop a little bit more, make it look a lot more presentable when you hang it on your wall. If you back for stateside backers that back for level 4 or the Master Ronin level, you're going to get your artwork poster in the matte lamination finish.
Nice.
That's also going to make the colors look very, very nice. Let's see. You also get digital storyboard prints, black and white, that depict like events in the story. I thought that was a nice touch. It's basically just a way to so people can besides getting the comic book, they can see like a little bit how the comic book was made. Like they see like uh the black and white sketches that the artist did before like color was put on and ink was put on, just so people
Nice.
can capture a little bit of like the history that went into making a comic book or this comic book in a way. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have other plans for future campaigns, but um, y'all got to support. I mean, this is meant to be a testing ground for Ronan's planned comic book series. So
Yeah,
if you want me to break out more prizes, y'all have to support, and share the link, stuff like that.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Amazing. What? Tell us a bit about your team. Like, are you the writer? Who's the artist? And
Yeah, it's just a two-person team, dynamic duo on this one. I'm the writer. All the ideas are pretty much coming from my head. So if you don't like them, I'm the person to blame. Um, let's see. But the artist is a freelance artist by the name of Sophie Daisy. She's from Chicago. She did a very nice job. Helped me out immensely on this project because I can write a little something. I think, but uh, the artistic skills are sorely lacking. So she filled in where I could not. So
Mm.
I'm thankful to her for that. Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's amazing how much skill is required to be a comic book artist. Like
Yeah,
I don't,
and
I
it's
don't think
imagine like
anybody
why
is.
why we get looked down so much. Like I mean, why is this medium not given the respect that it deserves? I mean, it's inspired so much of pop culture, yet people look down upon it, which is just it's crazy to me in a way. I mean, everything uh there's so many entertainment mediums that are out there, but I feel like comic books just doesn't get its just dessert. Like it doesn't get what it deserves, and like how it has contributed to pop culture in a way.
100%, 100%. I 100% agree. There's also I like like those newsprint comics are literally called ashcans. Like they're yeah. They I don't love that term because I don't think anything comics are nowhere close to ashcans. They're just pure labor of love from both the creators to to the readers, right? So yeah, I even if you think about mainstream comics, I think that a lot of creators are in love with the material, and that's why they choose to write it and draw it, and yeah. Well, elitist is going to be elitist. We can't help anything about it. We know we have our own way. So yeah. Awesome. Cool. So, tell me what inspires you as a writer? Like, what kind of stories do you like to write and read?
Well,
Like,
this is a superhero genre comic. I'm sorry if I didn't say that before. I'll make that clear. Uh, I like superhero stories. I mean, it's admittedly what's it's taken a bit of a tumble since Endgame. It's kind of fallen off a bit, but I still feel like that's what's hot in the streets. Or at least that's what I like. I like superhero genre because it in a way it's kind of I feel like it's kind of a cheat code because it makes it easier to like come up with ideas. Like I think it's the easiest way to easiest like genre to come up with ideas. Because and you can go in so many directions. I think what happens is the reason why a lot of people feel like that genre is so stale is because people do the same thing. It feels like like if I can like make up a quote like they're necromancing old IPs.
Yeah,
We had the absolute Batman, got the absolute Wonder Woman. That's cool, but I mean like I feel like how many times can you like reanimate the same corpse before it's just like, uh, I
yeah,
mean, some people might like that, and I'm like, and if people like what's going on with Absolute Batman and Absolute Comics, great. I want to make that clear. Like, great. If they love it, I love. If they like it, I love it. But I mean, sometimes you have to understand that these characters have been around like longer than some of us have been alive. So
yeah,
I mean, eventually they're gonna get old, and it's like,
yeah,
what do we do with them then?
yeah. Very true. Very true. I mean, both Superman and Batman are like more than 70 years old now at this point. Or actually, no, I'm wrong. They're more than 80 years old at this point. So, yeah, there's, and also I think like that's what comic books is actually good at. The comic books are really good at reinventing the same characters again and again. It's just that uh, it's hard to just copy a character and come up with a new one. You just can't say copy Superman and like make your own version of it. You have to try something that's very different but uses the same framework of superheroes, right? So yeah. So tell us a bit about your characters in the book, without actually spoiling it. Like the,
Okay.
who are the
Um,
main characters, and why should people be
well,
interested in your book? That's my main question, right?
um, the main characters is I would say the main character is actually one of the terrorists, actually one of the bad guys. He'll make an appearance in the next book. He'll be more prominent in the next book. Uh, this particular person, he's very ambitious. He wants to ingratiate himself with his the leaders who run his terrorist group. So he's
Mm,
trying to carry out this heist that'll, you know, like I said, ingratiate him to his leaders and provide him with the means to strike back at the United States in a way. Um, because he's doing a very bold and arguably like pretty crazy thing by trying to steal from the U.S. military.
mm,
Um, so but there's also his brothers in arms in the terroristic group, and the members of the U.S. military. Um, as far as those guys are concerned, they don't both on both sides. They really don't know what they're there for. Like the terrorists, in a way, they're kind of they were his the main character's friends. They're roped into this because of him. They don't know what they're really after. As
mm,
far as like the U.S. military, they're transferring what the terrorists are after, and they don't really know what it is either. It's more like it's like a clandestine mission. Um,
mm.
but eventually we realize that it's something very, very dangerous, and it's something that, like I said, it helps create the rise of the main character of the series, Steel Magnolia.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
if I can say it, it's like actually no, I can't share too much. Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
I can't share too
Okay.
much because then you'll spoil you'll spoil it. I'm sorry, I can't share too much. I might have already said too much already.
Just say enough to intrigue people, and then let them figure out the rest. Well, when they like,
Mm.
yeah, that's
We're in the
that's
show
that's
don't tell industry.
yeah, exactly, exactly. No, that's great. Still very interesting. Yeah, really good. Um, so yeah, how far along have you planned this story? Like, have you written like a full arc, and how many issues can people expect?
Okay. Okay. The next story, I think the best way to explain that is like give a like little short or crude story map. The next story will be the aftermath of this heist. As I said, like the main character from this story will show up. The main character of the series, Steel Magnolia, will actually make an appearance. You get to see her, some of her friends, her life. Um, you'll also get to see her come into contact with the survivors of this story, which will no, I can't share that part. That'll spoil it. But after that story, um, we'll get to see. She'll actually go up against her first. That'll be issue number 2. She'll go up against her first superpowered bad guy. I can't share too much again, but let's just say he's part of a secret society that is, let's just say, if you value how your fingers look, you probably
Yeah.
shouldn't mess up in there. That might clue people into who he works with. Um,
Yep. Yep.
yeah. And
Cool.
let's see, I'm still probably saying too much, but my company logo might give a bit more insight into what origin that criminal organization is.
Nice. Yeah.
I
Awesome.
plan further too, but yeah, I think that's enough. Let's hopefully let's make issue number 0 a success first before we get to issues 1, 2, and beyond.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, no. I hope this is a success
Me
because we
too.
want to hear more. We want to hear more. Yeah. That's awesome. Oh, that's great. Uh, cool. Okay, I love this part. I love to put people on the spot and ask them what are the top 5 pop culture things that they like. I know you said one. You said the Marvel universe, but uh, you know, let's hear from you.
Ooh, I'm not good at on the spot, man. Oh, no. Um, okay. You said start with comics, correct?
Hmm. No, anything is
Yeah.
fine, really. Yeah, like anything goes here. Like we usually do like movies or TV shows or games or comics or cartoons or whatever you feel like. It can start with comics because obviously this is a comics show. But yeah, it's up to you.
Okay. I'm going to clarify this by telling everybody right now, in case they haven't seen it from other interviews I've done in the past, I am a normie. I might not be up on everything, and I'm a pretty busy man sometimes, so I don't get a chance to read everything. Let's see. It might sound arrogant, but one the the comic I'm gonna put at number 1 is Steel Magnolia. I mean, it's what I'm working on. It's where I'm putting my heart into. So,
Hmm.
I mean, that's where it's going. Um, let's see. I just picked up this series. I think it's a side tale from The Witcher. Have you ever heard of The Witcher?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Netflix show, right?
Okay.
And there's also a book around it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, let's see. Mm, like I said, I'm not really up on everything. I can't really say I've read too much since in a while.
Yeah. That's okay. If you watched a movie that you absolutely love and going back to, or like a TV show, that also goes.
Yeah, you know what? Let's do TV shows. I'm one show I'm really loving right now is Tulsa King. I don't know if you watched that with Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
It's basically about this I think he's a capo in the Italian mob. He goes to
Mm.
jail for well, it wasn't his fault, but for a murder. But when he gets out, he's trying to like rebuild his life. Uh, he first goes back. He's like, I don't know if anybody's seen it, but let's just say he's trying to. He runs into old friends, which is his family or his
Mm.
criminal organization. Things don't go as he planned because he was expecting things to, be congratulated for not snitching on them. But
Yeah.
he eventually gets sent from New York to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he basically so far he's working on building his own criminal empire out there.
Ah.
I like that show so far. I been watching it stream through streaming. I hope it'll season two will come out soon on the streaming service I'm using. But that's what I'm watching right now. Aside from Rick and Morty, the anime, this
Ah.
might be where I get some hot takes or might get you in trouble. So I'm just gonna let you know, let everybody know that this is just me speaking. This is not Mr. Patea speaking out loud or anything. I like Rick and Morty the anime, but it kind of feels like I'm confused. Like I feel like I'm watching a lot of filler. I don't know. Like I actually also like the original. Mm,
Rick and Morty. Yeah.
let's see. But
Yeah.
right now, those are the three main shows that I'm watching right now.
Nice. Nice. No, I think those are good shows. I haven't watched Tulsa King just yet, but I've heard good things about it. Um,
You
and
should.
obviously,
You should.
yeah.
You're missing it.
Nice. Nice. Well, there's too many streaming services. You have to prioritize. It's just yeah, it's just that thing, you know. It's nothing on the show or anything. Yeah. Like I usually circle through streaming services. I don't buy them at the same time. So I keep one for a month, cancel it, and get another one next month. So I keep like Netflix is. I have Netflix for like 3 or 4 months a year. Disney Plus for another like 3 or 4 months because I'm currently watching the Only Murders in the Building, which is and I got Disney Plus for The Bear. So uh, yeah, in Australia, Hulu and Disney Plus have one thing. We don't have Hulu as a separate thing, so we get everything here on Disney Plus. So it kind of helps. Yeah, and once this Only Murders is finished, oh, you must totally watch it. It's such a beautiful show. Stars
Okay.
Martin Short, Selena Gomez, and Steve Martin, and it's written by Steve Martin. So it's actually quite fun. It's a mix of comedy and murder and murder mystery. So yeah,
And what's the show called again?
Only Murders in the Building. It's called
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Could you say it again?
Only Murders in the Building.
Okay. Finally, Murders in the Middle. You say it has Martin Short. Uh,
Selena
who'd
Gomez
you
and
say?
Steve Martin. Yeah,
Okay, so I'll look them up. I'll probably find
yeah,
it there.
yeah. No,
You also said you mentioned you were watching The Bear as well.
yeah. Oh, I love the bear. Uh, watched
Okay.
everything in
Now,
it.
where does that name come from? Because that sounds like that's something I've heard of. Because I know they're working. I believe they're working in a restaurant, and imagine like they get the name because like bears are omnivores, and they're like they're cooking a whole types of different dishes. But I could be
Yeah.
wrong, so I'm gonna let you explain that to me.
Oh, in the context of the story, it's just the pet name of the main lead character while he's growing up. So it's the story. The central story is because he he's a Michelin star chef, and he's worked in like some of the best restaurants around the world. But he has to come back to Chicago because his brother dies of suicide. He's really close to his brother, and his brother calls him the Bear. That's how the name, and they want to start a restaurant by that name. So, um, yeah,
Okay.
it's
I mean, well, I mean, that's a pretty heavy premise, but I mean, it seems to be like, from what I've heard, it seemed to be a pretty dope show.
it is. It is. It's so beautifully done. Like there's obviously some episodes are much more feel like they have a feel to it rather than the story. But it's that kind of thing. Some episodes are very heavy on the story and moving the plot forward. Some are really just about feeling things and just sitting back and looking at the beautiful, like all like they treat food like art, which is a beautiful thing, so and they show how chefs become artists and stuff like that. So it's such a good way to, at the same time there's so much chaos in the kitchen, and like so they kind of juxtapose those two things, and like it's such a beautifully done show that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the show, but I imagine it's like that because I have a brother that works as a chef, or he worked as a chef, but uh, when we think about food, we just think about what do we like to eat. We think about it
Yeah.
in a very base level, very rudimentary level. But chefs are taught to prepare food in just ways that the common man just doesn't even think about. We might learn how to cook something from how our parents taught us, but chefs learn just so many methods on how to cook something. So it's like they're a student of cooking. They know how to bring out the flavor in something. They know how to amplify a flavor and make it better, maybe tone down one. This the science of cooking. I believe it's called. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'll probably be corrected at some point. Gastrology, the gastrology of cooking, or something like
Gastronomy.
that. Or
Yeah.
gastronomy. Okay, got you. Thank you.
Yeah. 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 That's very true. That's very true. It's as much as science as it is an art, I would say. Because then a lot of like, like how, especially like they're talking about, especially in the show, they're talking about like fine dining, and, they do things like, how do they like color a dish, or how do they present it, and, a lot of that takes like scientific kind of approach. Yeah, because they talk about how ingredients, when they come together, they react and they change, states and colors and stuff. So yeah, yeah, it's amazing. It's very fascinating. But I'm not just watching that show, but more so after watching it. I would never want to work in a kitchen. It's so much chaos.
I'd imagine it's not for everybody.
Yeah,
It could be fun. I've heard those guys, like, they have a wild lifestyle, a lot of wild personalities in a tight space. So, it could be a wild time. But
yeah,
um, I mean, I'd imagine like when that lunch rush hits or that dinner rush hits, man, it's go time. You better be on point.
yeah, yeah. Exactly, and exactly. It's also like this consumer is a consumer, like a person who eats the food. Doesn't matter if they're sitting in a fine dining restaurant or in a bodega. It doesn't really matter, right? Like they just want good food. That's it.
Mhm.
That's the simple brief, and they want it on time. So yeah, so yeah,
He's
that's
speaking.
amazing.
He's speaking. Yeah.
Awesome. No, I like that's amazing. Cool. But yeah, we're coming close to time. But before we go, I want you to give an elevator pitch of your book to people. Give us a quick spiel, and why should people back your book? till when your campaign is on and things like that. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. All right. Like I said, I'm not good at on the spot, but here we go. Steel Magnolia issue number 0. It's a trailblazing comic book. It's a story that if you want to read or support new comic book producers out there like Runner Entertainment, you should look into it. It's a story that will uh, introduce Ronin's Clan comic book series. It lays the groundwork for it, but it's going to like get you intrigued about what's going to happen next. It's going to lay the groundwork for Steel Magnolia's actual appearance. Uh, if you want to read a story that has good art, good story, and also dialogue that leaves you in a way like with a feeling like you ate a full meal. There's some dialogue I know that we read some comments that um, leaves us feeling like we ate something stale or without any flavor. One thing I hope one people like talk about my work and maybe 50 years from now, I hope people will say that, you know, Jarrell's work was something that left me like when I read the dialogue, I laughed, I cried, I felt something. It was something that left me feeling full, like I was really in the room with these characters. I was really listening to to these characters have a talk with each other. Um, Even if it was a good emotion or a bad emotion, I felt something. That's something I hope people will uh, take away from Ronan's work or my work. And when I decide that I don't know who knows what the future opens, I could go blind or lose the use of my hands and I can't write anymore. So that's something I hope people will take away from my
Yeah.
contribution to comics.
No, no, I think I feel like that's a great thought, and that's a great
Thank you.
angle to come from. So all the best to you for rest of your campaign and beyond. You know,
Thank you,
um,
sir.
yeah, um, amazing. Thank you so much for everyone for tuning in, and until next time, stay good, read more comics, enjoy.
Take care.